Nelly Cheboi is our guest this morning. Nelly is the founder and CEO of TechLead Africa. She is also the 2022 CNN Hero of the Year. And when we saw the news, everybody in the country celebrated, being led by the president himself. Nelly is in the studio. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Asante.
We start now by, first of all, congratulating you for that win and for celebrating you with the applause. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Ngoja makofi, kumbe hakuna makofi hapa.
Iko. Hujasikia?
Oh.
Kila mtu amesikia. Apart from wewe.
Kumbe nachoma.
Apart from wewe. Tell us, Nelly, what is TechLead Africa?
Okay. So TechLead Africa teaches digital skills in rural primary schools. So like right now, our 5th graders are building websites, right? And they're building websites. And so the idea is that there's so many opportunities online. If you know how to code, or even if you're a social media marketer, whatever it is, you can get a job online, right? Or you can work remotely for companies all over the world. And so what we're doing is we're preparing kids for that future. So right now, our kids are building websites, and some of our teachers are actually working remotely for companies in California from Mogotio.
Okay, we will come back there. How did you get to that TechLead Africa story? What led you there?
I think just growing up in Mogotio and seeing poverty firsthand, I just became really motivated to think about sustainable solutions towards poverty, and really inspired by my mom, because she can barely read and write. She only made it to class 6, right? And she is a mother of 4 girls. And so it's hard. It really is hard. Like she was like going all the way to Uganda, going all to Tangul Bay, akawa anafanya uchuruzi. And so for me, just seeing how driven she was to educate us, especially when people are telling, uzuri uko na wasichana, tafata kunua shamba. So seeing that, I really wanted her to catch a break. That's what I really want. I was like, you just deserve a break. And so I helped her at the Kibanda. I helped her with so many things, but I also studied very hard in school. Because I believe that.
What school did you go to?
I went to Mogotio Primary, which is
First of all, where's Mogotio?
Hey.
Not every Kenyan knows.
Mogotio is like...
I know where Mogotio is myself. But
yeah, Mogotio is on your way to Marigat, on your way to Lake Baringo. So when you've taken trips to Lake Baringo and Bogoria and Kabarnet, Mogotio is one of the towns on the way there. It's 40 minutes, 1 hour from Nakuru.
What is it famous for?
Nelly Cheboi and Saiso.
And Saiso.
Yes. Kona Makonge.
And the goat auction.
Yes.
We have really good goat meat.
It was a famous goat auction.
Very famous.
It used to take place, led by the president himself. Would go
Really?
there and buy a couple of goats.
Yeah.
Former President Daniel Arap Moi.
Maybe more than a couple.
Yeah.
A couple, but I mean in hundreds.
A couple hundreds.
So you went to Mogotio Primary School.
Yeah.
And then where did you go to for secondary school?
So Mogotio Primary School, what was really cool is that I was the top girl in Koibatek district back then. And it's also very impressive because we did not have maftata. Like I used to go and study at Mogotio Hospital by the veranda there until like midnight, which is not safe for a girl. And so getting, being the top girl in the district from that, public primary school, such a huge win. And then from there I went to Mary Hill Girls. So now in Thika.
So Mary Hill Girls all the way in Thika.
Yeah.
Was it your first time to come to Nairobi and then head on to Thika?
Yeah, kinda. Yes. Pretty much.
Okay. From Mary Hill?
Yeah, from Mary Hill, Nikomoka. We just went to America. Nikapanda ndege.
Okay, so maybe a little bit more of the process. So after high school,
Yeah.
what then was your progression? Because look, this is the thing. Right off the bat, you talk about the fact that younger girls, underprivileged, disadvantaged for whatever reason, listening to you, seeing what may have happened, want to understand what exactly did you do? Did you do something special, ordained by heaven? Was there something special about you? Was there something that you did specifically that would get you to that point whereby then you were able to help out? So what was that transition from high school, Mary Hills? You finished. What next, and how did that come about?
Yeah. I think for me it's like I've had this so much drive, and I want to talk about my mom. Like I have so much drive and hunger for for just like a much better life. Like I think for me, I really knew poverty. And I think what is the hardest part about poverty, when I think about it, I think about the mamambogas, the women who are in kibandas, who are there for decades. And actually what is very sad about it is that these women, once you become a mom, most of them are actually teenage moms, right? Once you become a mom, you are stripped of your identity. You become mama somebody. So my mom was Mama Kosi, right? You become mama somebody, and that's all you do, right? Like nobody knows your name, but yet you're working really hard. You're showing up every day. And the lack of upward mobility, I think that's the saddest thing about poverty, is that it's not, yes, like there's the normal things where you don't have food, you don't have school fees, but when you show up every day, when the most hardworking people in our community are showing up every day, and the life is still the same, no ends in sight, that's what I think about. And so for me, I saw that and I knew that, and so for me it was more like I have to do everything in my being, whatever the situation is. If I'm in primary school, I'm going to study by the kibanda. If I'm constantly sent home from Mary Hill Girls because I could not afford tuition. I could not afford tuition.
This happened
all the time. I mean, I was constantly sent home. I used to go home a lot, and then I'll just study on the matatu, kwa kibanda. I'm catching up on my assignments. I'm studying notes. So for me, it was like, I've seen poverty, and it's like I have to do everything in my being to fight it. And so every step of the way that I've been through my life has just been fighting it. I've gotten bigger platforms now, like I think just by sheer luck and also just like opportunities, but it has always been that. So when you ask like if I had anything, I think for me it's just understanding my situation, understanding that mediocrity is not an option, because this is the cycle, it just keeps going on. And so when I graduated from Mary Hill Girls, I got an A of 82 points. I got an A in everything, like math, physics, geography. Kiswahili nilipata 2 B+. So I just like I was like, okay, I have an A, but then I was just like out there in the village. Mimi ni Nelly nimepata A. Mimi ni Nelly nimepata A. Just a market at heart.
Right.
I think it's just like, because I was like, okay, yes, I've got an A. It doesn't mean like everything will come towards me. Not all of this will come to me. So I was just like talking about my, like, what my vision is. I got an A. My sibling used to make fun of me. But anyway, someone heard about it.
Right.
Like,
Somebody heard the noise.
Najua Nelly, kuna program inaitwa Zawadi ya Africa, which is founded by Susan Boyer. Zawadi ya Africa take women from from humble background, really ambitious women, and help them to apply to scholarships in the US. There are about like 500 of us right now, which is really cool. And so, yeah, I joined Zawadi Africa. I applied. I got to Zawadi Africa. And Zawadi Africa, you're spending a whole year learning about SATs, learning about how to apply to scholarships in the US. And so through Zawadi Africa is when I got a scholarship. And it was and then when I got a scholarship, I didn't even have a passport. I didn't even have an air ticket. Nikaendelea tu, mimi ni Nelly naenda ngambo, sina passport.
Nice.
Right?
Yeah.
And then my MP, Ellen Sambili, helped with that. Nikaendelea tu, mimi ni Nelly niko na passport, sina air ticket. Then I met Raila. So it's just like, I think it was more like, I think something that really helped me is knowing that you don't just get things. Not even if you deserve a better life. Every kid in Kenya, like people living in poverty, deserve a better life, right? You don't just because I didn't get an A, I just did not. You just don't get things. You go for them. I mean, that's what I knew. It's like, just because I got an A, just because I got a scholarship, I could fail to go to America because I don't have an air ticket, right? I just wouldn't assume that just because I went to Mary Hill Girls, then everything is sorted,
Yeah.
right? And when I got to America, it wasn't like, just because I'm in America, I've made it. It was more like, okay, how can I use any opportunities I have to empower my community?
Absolutely. So was it that finishing university, graduating from university, did that strike a chord in your head? What was it? That I want to be able to progress in my career, or I want to be able to come back and help girls and young people who are the way I was then. What struck that chord for you?
I think as I mentioned earlier, I think it's like for me, it was like I had the idea. It wasn't like fully formed, but I had ideas. So it's like, it just, like when you have ideas, like when you're trying to look for a yellow car, you'll see yellow cars everywhere.
Sure.
But if you're not, you won't even notice, right? So for me, it was always like, how do I empower my community? And so every chance I got, it was that. So when I got to America, I didn't even have to wait to graduate. Immediately, like when you go as a student in America, you can get a job. It's nothing fancy. You get like 20 hours a week to work. You make like $8 an hour, but then with taxes, you don't end up making a lot. And so for me, I got a job, and I was actually doing janitorial work, cleaning bathrooms, right? And so immediately, like, I saved all that money, and the first thing was to move my family out of poverty, get my mom to retire, and move out of the kibanda because she was still there. And so after I did that, so after 1 year, I flew to Gikomba. Gikomba was really fancy to me. I flew to Gikomba. I bought everything and moved my family out of poverty. And then I was like, okay, my family is good. So what do I do next? So right now, I'm a third year in college. I decided to build a school, right? So I'm thinking about building a school. And I wanted to, because education really did a lot for me, right? Education moved me from so for me it was like I believed so much in education. I was like, okay, let me build a school and see if I can be part of an education movement in Kenya that actually teaches like other self-creative ways to make money. So for me it was like, how can you teach kids entrepreneurship? How can you teach them different things? Because there are no jobs in Kenya, right? Instead of someone graduating out of high school and then now what?
Yeah.
They have to figure out life. So that was the idea I had. So I built a school. So I built a school, Zawadi Yetu, as a third year in college. And then I discovered computers.
How
big
big was the school that you built?
Nothing fancy. It was like it was all like a rental. It was like four tiny rooms. But right now it's a gorofaine. It has grown so much.
So when you started, were you starting it as a secondary school or primary school?
No, it's a
or
primary
just
school.
ECD?
Yeah, it was like it's a nursery school, and then we started adding more classes.
All right.
But for me, it was like if I have a school, I can start teaching entrepreneurship skills, and so I did not know anything about tech. I was from Ogoto. Yes, I saw computers in cyber, but I didn't even know how to type.
What were you studying in America?
In where?
What were you studying in university?
So that's a whole different story. I grew up wanting to be a pilot. Like I was like, I want to be a pilot. I want to fly. And so when I flew for the first time to America, I was like, Astakio. So when I got to America, I was so lost. I had no idea what to do because it's like, you kind of get who I am, right? I have an idea. I'm so driven. Even when I wanted to be a pilot in Mogotio, I was always asking, najua pilot. So until I met someone who knows someone in the army who may know a pilot. That kind of like, that's how far I went. And so when I got to America, it was really hard. And I really struggled finding, doing the right course. So I thought about being a doctor. But then they have this thing called a cadaver room where you...
Yes.
And then so I tried a few things, and then I landed on chemistry. I was doing chemistry, I think, just because I was good at it. Like I was good at chemistry in high school, but I didn't really feel anything about it. And so I stumbled upon computer science as a third year in college. Like I did not know anything. Like coming from Ogoti, I did not know anything about the tech world, software engineering. I didn't even have a Facebook account like back when Facebook was cool. Like I remember when I went to Mary Hill Girls and someone told me like, hey, open a Facebook account. So I went to the cyber. I sat there for 30 minutes. Ni 60 bob. Sijalipa mtesa mpaka sasa siko na hiyo pesa. Nikafungua Facebook account. And then I had like 10 friends. So I went back to school and I was like, hey, niko na Facebook account. I have so many friends.
10, yeah.
And I was like 10 friends. So I did not know. Even in Mary Hill, I was so far behind because these are kids from Nairobi. Mi niko tu hapo. So when I got to America, I did not know anything about the tech world until I stumbled upon software engineering as a third year in college, and everything made sense. Because I already built the school, right?
Yeah.
And I was thinking, like, I want these kids to be entrepreneurial, to be creative in making money, because you have to be creative when you graduate from high school in Kenya. There are no jobs, right? And so I was thinking, okay, I can do this. And so when I stumbled upon computer science in the tech world, I was like, oh, this is it. So I'm struggling. So I dropped my chemistry major. I got a computer science degree in 1 year. Like, I just got all the classes done as I'm building the school, and I was like, you know what? This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to teach kids how to make money online. I'm going to teach people how to... And when people think about making money online, they think about academic writing.
Yes.
I don't mean that. No, I don't mean that. What I mean is Elise, who's a teacher of ours, being able to log in for a company, like joining, being an employee of corporate America. right? Having an email, having like getting paid every month as an employee of an American company. So joining corporate America.
Doing what? What is Eliza doing?
Eliza is an account executive, right? Yeah. And but you can do anything. Like you can be a software engineer, you can be a marketer, you can be an accountant. So that's the one that I'm preparing the future for. Is like I want them to be employees and digital natives to work remotely for these companies. There are other ways to make money online. There's Fiverr and there's Upwork where you have a very specific skill, but that one is very competitive and is very flooded. That's another way to do it. But another thing to do is also building a brand, like going out there and building a brand. That also is very competitive. But so what we're preparing them is just like wako tu wafanyikazi. Right? So it's a lot simpler than you think. And then there's also like they could do machine learning. So some of our teachers right now are training to do online, to do like machine labeling. So Tesla like has these self-driving cars.
Yep.
And then so you have to train the machine, you have to train the computer, be like, hey, here in stop sign. They're not that smart. The computers are smart in ways, but they're not smart in other things.
Hiyo ni paka inavuka bara.
Hiyo ni lori hapo, hiyo si butu. So that kind of, it's called machine labeling and training. So in America, so most of these companies are incentivized to outsource their business operations. So right now they're outsourcing to India, Philippines, and so we want them to outsource this to rural Kenya. And so right now there's a company that we have partnered with, Leash AI in Nakuru, that has employees working for Tesla. So 300 people are working for Tesla from Nakuru.
How does that happen? And how did you... This is the thing.
It's the thing, isn't it?
Yeah. How does that happen that you have 300 people?
Oh, I don't. A partner of ours does.
Whomever. Doesn't, I mean, look.
You open that door.
You open the
That's
door.
what's important.
This is the thing.
Yes.
That you have 300 people in Nakuru
Yeah.
working for a company in the United States, working here, earning in foreign currency, but then living in Kenya.
Na wana passport.
I mean...
And that's the goal, bada. Ili wakule pesa zao alafu wajivinjari hapa. You know, home is very... that's the goal. Like, wasiende, wabaki tu
Wakae tu
home.
hapa. How do you get that to happen?
I think, so this is the thing. This is a... this is the thing. The jobs are there. The jobs are really there. And so, for example, I have a 4-storied community center, like the Zawadi, the building, the Gorofa, right? I built that working from Mugotia. I was working from Mugotia as a software engineer, you know. So I do TechLit, I run around with the kids and deal with all the stuff that goes running TechLit. And then at night, at 8 a.m., I go to my computer and I work as a software engineer. I was making 1 million a month doing that. And that's...
Stop it. Stop it.
chokozi.
No.
You know, Nelly, the thing that I've been pondering over is, given your superbly excellent results, you had an MP. You have an MP. MPs have bursaries. The county government has bursaries.
Yeah.
Didn't they feature in your life at all?
I think we did apply to bursaries. We did. I don't. That's more like my mom. That's what probably like a story for mom to tell, because I was just a kid. You know, I was like 13. I'm going to. And then my mom is like running around and trying to get money. So I think that's like she would probably speak to that than I would.
I think your mom did the best she could.
Yeah.
There is no way you'd have been sent away from school if those bursaries worked, because that fees would have been paid. This is really what I'm getting at.
But do everyone get bursaries though?
People who do as well as you did should be at the very, very front line of those who receive bursaries. That's the whole thinking behind bursaries. A combination of somebody who comes from a background that is economically disadvantaged and is doing well. That's the purpose of having bursaries, so that this person doesn't lose out, that the situation they find themselves in doesn't hinder them from realizing the potential that they clearly and demonstratively have. But, yes.
Yeah, it's hard for me to speak to that because I wasn't really involved in the process. And I was just a kid needing to go to school. And my mom is the one hustling to get us tuition. Yeah.
So when you started TechLead, this was let's say you started the school when you're still in university.
Yeah.
You got to third year, you discovered, kumbe all along
Kumbe pesa iko.
my destiny is in
Hii pesa ni
tech.
kuchukua tu
Hii na pesa kwa hapa kwa barabara tunachukua. Unaokota kama mawe. Naweka kwa mfuko. So you moved into that, and within a year you had graduated with the software engineering.
Yeah.
And you are now building your other school. At what point did you now decide, let me formalize this thing that I'm doing and call it TechLead?
So that's a very interesting thing, is that when I discovered, I mean, when I realized that you could actually just like make money online and like work remotely for this I think I should change that, work remotely for these companies. I was like, this is so neat. So what I thought about doing is like, and then another thing is that most of these companies, they're upgrading their IT like 3 to 5 years. These computers are going to waste. So the idea was, I was like, I'm going to bring these computers here and I'm going to show people. I'm going to download videos and I'm going to show people how to make money online. So right now, I'm building my career as a software engineer in Chicago. So I fly to Kenya in 2018. I bring the computers with me, and then I brought 10. And then I set it up in my school, right? And then, kujeni tuone. So then I'm very ambitious. I'm thinking, the computers are here, the videos are here. People are just going to run with it, right? And so I go back to America because niko na kazi. And so I even form a WhatsApp group. I'm expecting like people to be like asking me questions. Like the youth that I set up in Mogoti, I was like, okay, ndo computer hapa tujifunze them to make money. This is very possible. But crickets, I don't hear anything. Which made me like, it was very unsettling. I was like, wow, this is a really good idea. Why is it not working? And so I could not stay in America anymore. I was like, let's go see how to make this work, because it was such a very powerful idea. Like,
Who was your target at that point? Was it
I was working with youth because I was thinking that if I can train them
post-secondary?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I think if I can train them to make money online, if I can train them to work remotely for these companies, then poverty is solved. They earn the money, they lift their communities up. And so I kind of like officially like came back. I was like, okay, let's figure it out. Why didn't it not work? Like, why were people not asking, taking advantage of this? And so in 2019, we came back. So Tyler and I came back to Kenya. He joined me to figure this one out, right? And so we started thinking about it. So initially we for months.
Excuse me, who's Tyler?
Oh, Tyler is my partner, my boyfriend. Okay. We've been together for 6 years, and then we're also building TechLead together.
Okay.
Yeah. So we came to Kenya so we came 2018 together. We brought the computers and set it up. And then in 2019, we both quit our jobs and came to Mogoti and did that. And so it was very interesting because, okay, so we started with training them. Like, okay.
Wait.
Let's
take a break at that point. So you guys have come back to Kenya. You and Tyler now in Kenya.
Yeah.
You'll tell us more about that. Let's take a minute break, okay?
Sounds good.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Eric Latif, Ndu Oko, CT Muga, and hero, Shujaa, Nelly Cheboi. What do we give her? Not CGH, okay? That one is taken by Ruto. EGH.
Okay, so that one is taken by Ruto.
So Nelly, you came back to the country. This is where we were. You and your boyfriend, you decided, let's actually focus on helping this youth to understand the potential that there is in tech.
Yeah.
Did you find out why they were not responsive in the first place?
I think so. It was quite a struggle because so we come back in 2019. The computers are still there, and so then I'm like, okay, let's figure out. Maybe they don't believe us that you can get a job online, that you can work remotely. So we find someone in Chicago to give us a job to build a website for them using WordPress, which is very simple to do. And so we're like, okay, let's actually pay them to do this job. So we're paying them 800 shillings an hour because that was like they're going great for how much the guy was paying us. But we did most of the work. Like we had the WordPress site ready. It's just like they're doing data entry. And then it came to a point where they were coming. And then if there was no... So the idea, like if you do any consultants, it was like, let's do a consultant. Let's actually just get them a job and then they can learn as they go. So if you do any consultancy, you want to pay them to do the work. And then when there's no work, they're training. But then it came to a point where when we stopped like for a day or two to like and then they just they were not coming, or when they come, they just watch YouTube videos. They were not training, they were not learning, and ilikuwa ngumu. And I think it came back to the fundamental, like what was the biggest issue is that we were looking for digital natives, right? I think people in Nairobi will recognize this, right? Like they just like, you're online, you're sitting on a computer all the time, you're on your phone, but you're from Ushago, from the village, like you don't do that. Like maybe you do, but it's like there's this idea of a digital native in that, like right now, if I ask a second year, like a Form 2, if I ask a Form 2 girl in Nairobi or even in Chicago, if I ask them, hey, do you want to get a job at Google? Or like more like, hey, go get a job at Google. They'll know how to do that, right? Even though they'll know like, okay, I need to go to LinkedIn and I need to find the recruiter, and then I need to find out, like, first of all, they'll ask you, like, they'll ask themselves, if I want to work for Google, what job do I want to do? Do I want to be a marketer? Do I want to be a product? Do I want to be software engineering, right? And then they'll be able to go online and like and find a recruiter, right? And also go to YouTube and learn how to be a software engineer. Whatever the skill they want to do, they can learn that. And then they're going to look YouTube videos like how to get a job at Google. Like they just by being themselves without any connections, they can do that because they're just submerged in information. There's so much information out there. That's what I think of a digital native is. And with our education system, with that just like, lack of computers and a very expensive internet, it gets really hard to build digital natives. And so for us, we were just thinking that, hey, let's just come and get the youth, like, let's get them like sit on a computer and learn a skill. Well, that's something they're not used to, which is the lack of digital nativity. So we realized after really trying for so long, we wanted to build digital natives. We wanted to be able to have someone who knew. If we tell them, hey, get a job at Google, they know how to do that. So then it was clear that we needed to go to schools and teach the kids instead. Like embed this as part of the education system instead of finding people who have left the education system and this skill is just too hard to acquire. Right.
So this is a private school that you're running? Or were you working with public schools as well?
Yeah, so people get really confused about that. So I'm going to clarify this. So I have 2 projects. Actually, I have 3 projects.
Okay. There could be 4, but let's do it 3.
Okay. I have 3 projects. My first project is Zawadi Yetu, named after Zawadi Africa, right? The program I went to America with.
Yeah.
What Zawadi Yetu tries to do is I want to see what it's like to be a kid in Ushago growing up with everything. That's what I want. I want you to have ballet. I want you to have a music studio. I want you to have a dance studio. I want you to just be a kid, which I did not have growing up. I was raising my little sister. So that is a testament of like, it's a very expensive, whatever dream, because it's costing me millions to just build that center. That's what I'm trying to do with Zawadi, right?
Okay.
So Zawadi right now, we have a music studio. We have a dance studio. Like our kids are constantly like, on Zoom calls with NASA when people come to visit and they want to see a school. So they're exposed to the world right now, just being in Mogotio, in that community. We also have a hair school where women are coming in and learning how to braid hair. They graduate in 3 months. So Darling provides the inventory, and then I have the space. I have the real estate. So the women are coming and graduating. That is all Zawadi, right?
Okay.
It's a community center just trying to give everything to this community. TechLead Africa is a more scalable solution. TechLead Africa goes into existing schools, right? So right now we are in 15 schools. And we want to be in 100 schools, actually. We want to be in 100 schools by the end of this year. We want to be expanding to Uganda and Tanzania next year, right? We want to permeate the whole of rural Africa. What TechLead Africa does is it gets these computers that are going to Western America and puts them in schools. It's a computer lab in a school. And the kids are learning every day all these digital skills that they need, right, to be able to like get work remotely for these companies. And then my dad company is called Itabidi, and that is the one that is connecting people who are like already have the digital skills, connecting them to jobs, jobs in America,
right,
through our networks. Yeah.
Oftentimes when we see that folks are recognized around the world for what they've done, we see the impact that what they've done has had on the lives of people, and usually that's where the recognition comes from.
Yeah.
It's not that Nelly has it's who Nelly is has done, but what Nelly has been able to do has impacted the lives of others, right? What impact have you seen? What changes have you seen in the lives of other people? And it doesn't have to just be young people. It could be the older people whose children you've taken care of for an education. But what impact have you seen in the lives of people since you started all of this that probably contributed to the recognition?
I love that question. So, I think like the most recent one is Bowen, who's in class 5 right now, who has the website hosted. If you go to bowen.techleadafrica.org, you'll see his website. And the interesting thing about this kid is that 2 months ago we introduced HTML, which is what you use to build websites. And so we're just introducing HTML, and we're doing like just basic, like, this is what a header is, a title is. Most of the class are doing that. But Bowen then is like, okay, if there's H1 and H2, so he keeps trying. Just from the pattern, it's like, okay, let me try H3, H4. It goes all the way to H7. And then he concludes like, oh, okay, so H1's right. Like, he was just like kind of like learning on his own. It's like, okay, because he doesn't have internet, just have a computer, he writes something and then see what displays on the browser. So he learns how many H tags are there. Right. And then he goes home and he's like thinking about building a website on a piece of paper, on his exercise book, because he doesn't have a computer. Right. So he writes like, okay, H1, he writes it because he remembers that, and then he writes some things. And then he thinks like what else can I write? Like paragraph, and then often like he will ask his sister, hey, can I borrow your phone? And then goes to YouTube and say Visual Studio Code HTML, looks up some of the things, and then continues writing. 3 days after introducing HTML to the class and teaching the kids, like we're teaching so many kids, right? He comes to school with 3 pages of HTML code. He has sat down at home.
And how old is this guy?
He's in class 5.
He's 11. He's 11 years old.
I don't know how old he is.
Yeah,
But
he's 11 years
class
old.
5. Yeah. So he's coming to school with unwritten HTML code for 3 pages, and then he transcribes it slowly and slowly and slowly. It's really cute. Like, he saw me typing one day and I was like, kosi mini mamua. The type kama wewe. So we call that touch typing. So it's learning touch typing too. And then and so he builds the website, and then so another thing that is goes hand in hand with building website is CSS, which is like you wanna design your website, the colors, the background, in like all this stuff. It's CSS. So we were struggling thinking about how to introduce CSS to the kids. HTML seemed easy because like what they were doing in Word document, they could just transfer that. Like a header is H1, like a title is whatever title tag. So it's very easy. So we were kind of like crazy. How do we teach CSS? And then he comes to school the next day, and we see his website. There's some colors, right? He has had some colors in it. And then we ask him, hey, how did you get color on this? He's like, oh, my website was ugly, so I went home and I went to YouTube and say, make my website beautiful. And then I read what they did and I wrote it down and I tried it and it works. So he had done CSS for himself, and then he was going around in the whole class teaching how to do CSS. So we had to come up with a CSS curriculum. If you go to his website, you'll see that when he does different things, he actually has little code of snippets below to show you how to do that.
To do them.
Right. So right now, and it was the cutest thing. So right now, Bowen, when I was named the CNN Hero of the Year, he sends me an email. It's like, hi, Kosi, it's me, Bowen, congratulations. And like, he has the title, he has the formatting, which is really cool because I feel like most of our youth don't even know how to send an email, which is like one of the fundamental things that you need to do for build. So that kid is ready for a job. We just need him to turn 18.
I'm looking at his website, bowen.techleadafrica.org.
Yes.
I am Bowen from Mogotio. Welcome to my website. I want to be a software engineer. I have been learning coding at my school through the help of TechLead Africa. Below are some of my projects. I'll keep adding more. The first one is a flex puzzle that I made to teach you to flex CSS. It puts in 4 trophies there. Interactive flex tutorial.
Yeah, if you click on that, it will take you around.
Ordered and unordered list. Interactive border.
Right.
So I think seeing that, it's just, for me, I did not. When I was his age, I didn't even know what a computer was, right? I struggled to become a software engineer. Like in America, I really struggled with my assignments. I could not type. I had no idea how to do. I had to learn like the whole how to become a digital native. I had to learn that, as a youth, right? And so for me to see him doing all these things, like having, even if you go to TikTok, we also record TikToks of them describing what they did. He's on TikTok too. He's describing. So he's ready. He knows how to build a brand. He knows how to market himself. He has a skill. He knows how to look up tutorials on YouTube and learn from them.
How can this be scaled in the public sector? So there are several things. Number one, the government is very keen on having a digital economy. Not the first time we've heard this. For the last 20 or so years, we've been hearing government
is very
saying
keen on talking about wanting a digital economy.
You're very critical. I see that.
Yeah, but you see, everything you've told us so far is accompanied by what you've done. So it's not just a story. You're walking us through things that have happened and we can see. They are visible. Others have also
some of them
seen
done
it.
remotely.
Yes. So, again, Eric, pardon for interrupting you. Continue with what the government has continued saying. Yes, go on.
Yes, I like that.
Keen on that. There's a state department that is in charge of this. We have an education sector and all this. What do you think from where you see it? What needs to happen to scale this, to move it to all schools in the country, to make
Yeah.
sure that all children
I'll let-
Bowen
Yeah.
become digital natives?
So right now we have, I'm going to tell you this. We have enough computers in Mogotio right now to reach to 50 schools. I can easily get the computers to get to 100 schools. So our goal to get to 100 schools is not limited by the resource. The way we work, we have these computers, we're bringing it to the community, right? We train people from the community. We train them, later.
Yeah, you need a minute maid break.
Well,
Yeah.
Okay, so the way we work is that we have enough computers in Mogotio right now to get to 50 schools, right? When we go into a school, we get the youth who just finished high school or college, we train them, and the ones who are teaching in the classes every day. These are the same youth that we connect to jobs in America.
Here we
Like
are.
Eliza is a teacher of ours. We saw that he can send the only thing he needed to be able to get these jobs is that he needed to send an email. He needed to know how to send an email because it's a really hard skill. Like our youth don't have that skill, for example. They really struggle. They don't know the difference between like LinkedIn post and a WhatsApp status. Like you can see them in online, like trolling in comments. Not like that, like actually being online, you're building a brand. You can use like the comments to build a brand or something like that. So we train the youth. They can get jobs online. They can work for these companies remotely while they teach in our classes. The only thing we ask from the schools is that they cover the cost of the teachers. That's all we ask. And that is a really hard sell. Right. So the computers are there. We are creating jobs for the community. We just need people to understand that tujitegemee.
There's a small cost to this.
Yeah, there's a cost to this. And
But
actually
then-
the cost is 40,000 Kenya shillings
But
per
then
month.
now this is what I'm asking actually, Nelly. Now, if your plan was to be taken up by government, it can be rolled out easily. What kind of things are these? So that you only come in to plug into what the government is doing.
So
already.
I can speak a little bit to that. I think people are very critical of the who had an agenda to get the computers, like devices, like was it like a laptop per child or something, like get devices to all the schools.
Yep.
Those devices are there. Those
are
computers are they're there. If I go even the schools in Ushago, the
They're
computers are there.
Yep.
But you know where they're in? They're in closets. Right. Because we didn't have the capacity. We don't have the capacity. We didn't have the capacity to train the kids, like to train the teachers to run this, right? So the capacity is not there. And so I think most efforts with government, the problem with government mostly is the skill. It's very hard for government to just say, like what we get to do with Techlit. We start with one school, we go to 10, we go to 100, we go to 1,000. If a government is working like that, it will seem like discrimination.
Yep.
It will seem like ubaguzi, right? So government are really good at scale, right? But to get to scale, you need to have this.
You've got
You need to grow
progress.
slowly. You need to grow slowly.
Yeah.
So
There's something called piloting, and the government is very good at that as well.
Right. But it's like it's very easy because you're trying to think like how do we, like for us, we found that we can train the youth, and all that the youth need to do is to be in that class doing 8 classes a day. That's all they need to do, and then they're given targeted training to produce that. But I think like when you try to think, it's very hard for me. Like right now, if you ask me to like do 100 schools in Techlit, it seems already really hard. If you ask me to do 1,000, I have no idea, right? And so like I think for us, I think this works really well as a private sector because we have the, I don't know, the lack or the opportunity to slowly grow, even if it looks like really quickly grow, to slowly grow and figure out the pains, the growing pains.
So there's no public pressure and expectation
Yes,
politically.
yes, that is the problem. That is really the problem. That there's so much pressure. Like all these computers in all these schools are sitting in closets, right?
You see, Eric,
Yeah.
the program this delightful Kenyan has, there's no politics attached to it.
Yeah.
There's this thing that needs to be done, and it gets done.
And she decides.
Yes, and the focus is how do we continue getting it done? How do we expand it?
Yeah.
The moment you bring in the national perspective, it will sound really good. And then you start. Then the politics comes in. And that whole thing, Kwisha. You'll be talking about this initiative, which was started God knows when, and that'll be it, the history of it. Yes.
Well, I know
wanna-
for sure that the government, the Ministry of Education has piloted several things, programs using those free laptops.
Right.
Start, stop. Maybe the problem is the challenge of scaling.
Yes, scaling. Thinking about it at scale, and then thinking about like the capacity. What a Techlit has come down to is those teachers, the youth that we train. So we work really hard on our hiring, on our training. They teach classes like from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. and then they come to training until 8 p.m. Like they're doing training like every single day. And so it's very exhaustive, right? And it's so the capacity, the people so the teachers that need to be trained. And I also want to challenge this. When we think of the government, we think about the national government.
Yeah.
But the government, the government is us.
Yeah.
We're the taxpayers, right? For example, schools in America are free. Primary schools and high school. And you know how they pay for that? Property taxes, right? You have a house, you pay taxes on that, and that goes towards your school. And the reason that I'm saying that, so for us to scale Techlit, I'm asking the people, it's almost like a small tax collection, right?
Yeah.
I'm asking the people to jitegeme. If a school has 800 kids, the program costs us 40K per month, right? That is 50 shillings per month per kid, per parent. 50 shillings only, right? And so when we go and talk to the parents and the schools, they're like, oh, like our kids, like just the idea of like waiting for handouts, waiting. They're like, atafuta mzungu atusaidie na hizi vitu. But
Tuliona ulishinda CNN.
that is the discussions we need to have because I think to improve our society, to improve this, it actually comes from kujitegemea.
Yeah.
Tax collection, thinking about this. And so that's why for me, like most of my work that I do is calling head teachers and saying like, hey, you help us cover the cost of the program and we come in and we do the whole thing and your kids are going to be coding websites. And that continues to be our challenge.
Amazing. Nelly, you are so inspirational. Very many comments that have come in saying, people love how you speak, how you laugh. Your fire in your belly, your inspiration and everything. And congratulations for the global recognition. Yes, and it starts globally and then you come now to be recognized locally. Shame on us, but it's good enough. Well done, Nelly. So Nelly is a CNN hero, Nelly Cheboi, CNN Hero of the Year 2022. She is the founder of Techlit Africa. She's running 3 different programs from Mogotio, taking them to Kenya and then to East Africa, gradually Zawadi, Itabidi and Techlit.